I was going through my old DMs and I found my first ever content editing client. So I used to edit Fortnite highlights, but then I got into the content space, which is the actual YouTube videos, and it was in May 2021. It was me offering a video for £8 per video, so that's about $10. And I had gotten that client. And since then, since 2021, I'm now charging between 1,000 2,000 per video. You can believe me or not. Honestly, I don't really care. You can check who I work with in my description. But essentially, I've been able to raise my prices by what is that, like however many times, like 100 times. And I know a thing or two about raising prices. And honestly, this is the highest leverage thing you can do when it comes to you increasing your income as an editor. You can improve other things, but ultimately, when you fix your branding, when you fix your workflow, when you fix your portfolio, all these things, ultimately they all lead to you trying to make more money. And I'm telling you now, raising your prices is the biggest lever that you can have. So there's actually three methods that there's three methods that I'm going to walk through that I think you're going to find really helpful for this. And the first one is fixing your online presence. Realize that you might be a good editor. Like objectively, you could be a good editor, but if people can't see that, they're not going to think that you're a good editor. If I told you all these tips that, oh, I can show you how to make more money editing, but I had never done it for myself. If I didn't have my portfolio, my clients that I worked with, I wasn't able to say that, oh yeah, I've worked with this guy with 10 million, 20 million, I'm working with a sideman. Like I couldn't say these things. What I had to say wouldn't mean as much. Even though like I could say the exact same thing, but you just wouldn't take it as seriously. In the same way, if you are a good editor, but you don't show it online, clients aren't going to assume you're a good editor. They're just going to assume you're shit. It's like, you know how people say, oh, you're innocent until proven guilty, and like the opposite is you're guilty until proven innocent. Honestly, the world's kind of harsh. You're a shit editor unless you can prove otherwise. So the way you fix your online presence is basically look at any contact points that people have of you online. So you have your portfolio, you have your Twitter, you have your social media, you have your Discord. Like these are all contact points to your business. It's where people can literally interact with you. And with each of those interaction points, people are building up a perception of you. When they look at your Twitter, they are thinking a certain thing. When they look at your portfolio, they are thinking a certain thing. When they look at every single part, they're having a perception of that. Wouldn't you want to have that perception be positive and them thinking that you are actually an editor that's serious and that they are willing to pay and that already has clients and like you're valuable pretty much? I want you to do this actionable step, which I think would really serve you, and I don't think a lot of editors do this. Take a second and almost from a third person perspective, look at your own social media accounts. Go into your portfolio. If you don't have one, that's a concern on its own. Go make one. But that moment in its own, if you didn't have a portfolio, a client would look at that and like, he doesn't even have a portfolio. He says he's a good editor, but he has nothing to show for it. If you genuinely looked at your own social media, would you even hire yourself? And that's, try not to use your own bias because of course you already know your own editing ability, you know what you're capable of. But for someone that's just seeing you, they don't know all of that. They haven't known you for however old you are, like that many years. They're seeing you for the first time. So realize that every single person that comes across your pages, you're essentially answering this one question. The question is why? Like, why should I actually listen to you? Why should I hire you over someone else? And if you're not showing that, you're not going to be able to secure them, of course not. So cool, you started sorting out your online presence, you've updated your portfolio so that the videos are on there, and you started posting your previews on Twitter and you don't have like some stupid racist joke in your bio on Discord. Like, you sorted out your online presence. What's the next step? I'm gonna assume for this video that you're able to get like a client or two, even if it's like a super low paying client. I'm gonna assume you're able to purely because I have like 50 other videos on how to get clients. And once you have the client, there's going to be one word in specific that I want you to literally ingrain into your mind. This is one of my core philosophies that I've literally operated on since day one of editing, and it's over delivering. If you can over deliver on every single video, I promise you, you will find it hard not to raise your prices. Over delivering is essentially, let's say that you are getting paid a certain amount. For the sake of simplicity, you're getting paid $100 per video. You could hand in a video that's worth $100. Okay, you've delivered. You could also hand in a video that's worth $50, you've under-delivered. But what if you got paid $100 per video, and when you gave in that video, you were basically giving him a video worth like $200-300? And of course, these are just like kind of abstract numbers, but you can understand what I mean. Like, you can imagine charging that high for this video, even though this person isn't paying you a lot. So what does this look like in practice? It's you spending longer on the video, not longer as in you're just sitting there like getting distracted on Twitter. That doesn't count as you actually working on the video, but you're genuinely like, you're in deep work, you're working on the video, you're creating the animations, you're checking through frame by frame to see if it worked. Like, you're spending longer actually working on the video. You check over the video at the end. You would be surprised how much better your own videos would be if you just watched over the video right at the end, like 1 or 2 times, not just watching it laid back, but genuinely analyzing each frame and seeing if you can make any changes and then actually making them changes. That's what over delivering looks like. Honestly, it's not as hard as you'd think. A lot of people kind of mix together over delivering and over editing, which is like, oh, if I just add more animations, then I'm over delivering. And there is some correlation with the more editing you do, generally they will be higher paying clients. But it's just checking over your video and not making stupid mistakes. It's giving the guy what he paid for and then more. You might not be getting paid your hourly rate that you want. I promise you, every single video that I've done in my career, I haven't been paid my hourly rate. A lot of the time, like the videos that made me the most progress in my prices, I was getting paid literally less than minimum wage. If I actually worked out the hours, I'd be getting paid like 50 cents an hour. I remember there's this video that I edited about a year and a half ago. It was for Sona, a pretty large like art YouTuber. And I had been working on this video and I'd always be on a Discord call with my friend. And I remember me sharing my screen and showing him my process of working. It had been 2.5 months that I'd been working on this one video. And honestly, I was getting paid like basically nothing for it. Like, even if it was like a good amount, I'm spending literally 3 months on this video and every single day I'm actually working on it. He told me that it wasn't worth it. He was saying like, oh, I would never do that much. It just isn't worth it. Like, what's even your hourly rate? I even had my family who, they didn't like me editing, but they were still kind of like interested of what I was doing. And I showed them like the video and they kept seeing the same person coming up on my screen every single time. And they asked me like, are you not going to finish that video? And I'm telling them that like, oh yeah, I've been working on it for a few months. And basically everyone's telling me, hurry up, finish the video. But in a weird way, the client didn't mind. Of course, this is not me saying take ages on your clients' videos to the point where they get annoyed. But if your client's happy for you to take a little bit longer, or if they're happy for you to take a couple extra days, like a week on the video, take that time and actually make the video good. When I posted that video on Twitter, it was my first sort of like, not viral, but viral tweet where I got like a few hundred likes. And the thing is, there's getting a few hundred likes on giveaways and bullshit. But when you get a few hundred likes on a preview, you can imagine what my inbounds look like. I had like 10, 20, 30 people literally that day who reached out to me. And these weren't like these small, tiny creators. Sure, there were like 5 creators who were like absolutely tiny. But a lot of them were like genuinely 200, 300, 400, 500k subscriber clients. And then you'd have a few like 5, 10 million subscriber clients that are literally coming to me because I finished this video. Until this day, that same video, it's on my portfolio, it still gets me clients. So in a weird way, me putting in that work up front is still paying me off till this day. So when you get a video for, let's say, $50, $20, 100, whatever number it is, the number doesn't actually matter, it's all relative. If you were getting paid double, triple, like quadruple, if you were getting paid 10 times more than you actually were, would you be able to make the video better? If the answer is yes, that means you're not actually working your best, you're just holding back because you feel like, oh, I'm not getting my money's worth. It's like, you've been trying to maximize your hourly rate, and where has that gotten you so far? Because every single time you rush a video because you're thinking, I need to maximize my hourly rate, but I don't get paid enough to actually try on a video, you might think that you're like holding it back from the client. You're holding your own success back. Because now when you finish that video, what's going to happen the next time you try getting a client? What sort of work is on your portfolio? What sort of work do you have to post? It's shit work. Of course it is, because you've done horrible work for someone, and now you have nothing to show on your portfolio, and now the next client that you try charging $200 more for, they're going to say like, bro, your work's horrible. And then you're going to keep working at the same rate again and again. In a weird way, the way you get higher paying clients is by treating your current clients as if they already are the high paying client, and you won't get the immediate results from it. But in 6 months from now, I promise you, if you keep over delivering like this, you will raise your prices to a point where you wouldn't even believe it. I couldn't imagine that people even paid $100 for a video. I still remember, I think every single client editor has this moment where once he's a few years in and you realize like, yo, like you can actually charge like 500, 1,000. Like I have editors that I teach that within a few months they're charging like $500, and a few months ago they didn't even imagine that you could charge 200, 300. Like once you start over delivering and you've gone through that process, like you're gonna look at the world and be like, bro, money's out there. And the third step that I want to talk about in terms of raising your prices in this video is literally just giving people the offer to pay more. I know this sounds a little bit weird and this is more of like a tactical step, but I promise you, you would probably be able to raise your prices once you've over delivered and you've fixed your social presence. You would make more progress in raising your prices if you actually just raised your prices. I know this sounds so stupid, but I promise you, genuinely ask yourself, you're complaining about not being able to raise your prices. How many people have you actually given this raised price to? Maybe you gave like the increased price to like 2 people and got rejected. And then you sent it to another 4. Then like you sent it to a certain amount of people and then they all said no. So you raised your prices back down and then you never charged it again. It's like you haven't been charging that amount, so of course people aren't paying it. If I told you that I have this thing to offer you for $10,000 and then I'm wondering like, why can't I charge $15,000? And like I haven't offered you $15,000, so why would you pay me $15,000 if that makes sense? Like people won't say yes unless you actually give them the offer. And in a weird way, you need to be okay with getting rejected. Something that I'm so glad that I did was identifying that I, as a kid, I had like a really bad fear of rejection. I think it's because I had like a lot of, I don't know how to explain it, but I was just a bit of like an awkward kid, and I was known as like the socially awkward kid as a kid. And it's like I basically needed people's validation of, okay, at least I'm academically smart. I was an academically smart kid. Socially, I was an absolute idiot. But I mean, I'd be at a family function. I'd be the one weird kid sitting at the corner of the room playing Clash of Clans on my mom's phone. But I mean, hey, so you're socially awkward, but at least I get my validation from people saying, oh, like, what are you doing in school? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm getting my A's. And I'm like fucking 12 years old. But I was so scared that I would lose that little bit of validation. And that sort of led to me having a fear of rejection, where I couldn't imagine if someone didn't accept me for at least one thing in that area. This is really weird to explain, and I don't know if I'm explaining it well enough, but essentially fear of rejection, a lot of people have it, and you probably have it as well. Me learning how to get over my fear of rejection, I promise, is one of the best things that I've done for my business. Business is literally a game of who can go through the most rejections and keep going. Because the second you stop in business, that's when you lose. Like this is the analogy that's really helped me. Business is a game. Like, you know how we used to play Fortnite, Minecraft, whatever. Business is a game. And literally the only way you can lose is by quitting. As long as you either win, like as in monetarily, or you pivot. So you tried something and then you tried this new client acquisition strategy, and then you try this new, you learn this thing and you try that. Like, as long as you keep trying new things, you're in the game. That means you're winning. It's like with Minecraft. Like, a lot of you will have played Minecraft, but it's like this, it's basically this block game where there's no like actual ending of the game. Like, you can just continuously play and build and whatever. The only way you can lose in Minecraft is literally by like not playing. You can die, you'll respawn, but like, you know what I mean? Like, unless it's hardcore mode, but like, you can only lose if you quit, pretty much. And business is the exact same way. And as soon as you lose your fear of rejection and you're okay with like getting rejected and you do it again, that's when you'll see actual results. And I'll share a few of the things that I've done. First of all, stop making it personal. Just because someone rejected you doesn't always mean that you're not good enough. Like, if 1,000 people reject you, maybe you've got to consider like, yeah, I'm probably not shit. But if you get like 2, 5, 10 rejections, it's probably not you. Maybe you just weren't compatible. This is really helping when I'm meeting new people, especially when I go to like cafes and stuff. And I'll talk about the social side later. But when I go to cafes and I'll meet like a random person, I've gotten to the point now where I've improved my social skills, and I will literally walk up to a random person, ask them like what they're doing, and then like just have like a normal conversation with them. And that sounds kind of scary, but it's crazy how that's become like a weird like thing that I had to train myself for. There are people where I will walk up to them and I'll ask them a question, ask them like whatever, compliment them, and you can just tell like the vibe isn't there. Like he or she is like, we don't click, you can tell. I don't take that personally. Before I would have thought like, oh, did I come across as weird? But now it's like, oh yeah, we just weren't compatible. They didn't fit my vibe, or like we don't have, like, it's cool. And the second thing is that I did to improve like my fear of rejection is literally doing that more often. I'll be so raw. If you want to improve your social skills, read this one book. I'm not getting paid shit. I'm not going to have an affiliate link. But like, How to Win Friends and Influence People. If you read that book, it teaches you social skills. It sounds stupid, but it teaches you how to speak to humans. Your social skills probably aren't as good as you think. You might think that you're social and stuff because when you're speaking to your friends, you're able to be loud and stuff. Okay, awesome. Like, well done on that. But have you ever like tried speaking to a random person on the street? Probably not. If you haven't put in active effort into your social skills, chances are you probably aren't that good at social skills. Like, I've put in so much active work into it. My social skills, I would still say, are like a 4 or 5 out of 10. Chances are, like, if you've never focused on it, you're probably more like a 1 or a 2. And that's not me trying to be rude, but it's me saying, like, you have areas to improve on. And in a weird way, you would actually improve in business if you were able to socialize better, if you're able to text better, in interviews, you're able to do better. And just the way you come across is so much nicer, and you don't take rejections personally because you've been out in the world and you've spoken to like 50 people over the last few months and you've been rejected by like 15, 20, 30 of them. And honestly, in the real world, you don't get rejected as much. Like, it's maybe like 1 in like 100 people that won't want to speak to you, I promise you. But once you've gone through that, it's like, okay, this client that doesn't want to pay me, I've given him a price, he doesn't want to pay me. It's not anything personal. It's like, we just weren't compatible. Either we couldn't like the style of each other. He didn't like my prices. Cool, we're not compatible in that sense. Like, cool, we're just not compatible. You need to be okay with just giving the price that you want. If you want to charge higher, you need to give the offer. And there's going to be one magical moment where you think you're overcharging, you think you're going too far. And for most people, they'll say no. They'll ghost you. But there's going to be one guy that says yes. And that's when pretty much your whole world around you transforms. And it's like you gain like this new perspective that people do pay this. I remember when I was in college, I believe this was me in college. And I was charging around $100-ish per video. And it was during exam season and I didn't want to take this client on. So what I did was I just charged like a crazy amount. So I was like, I'll double my price. I'll charge like $200 in hopes that he would say no so that I can revise for my exams. He said yes. And I remember like posting it on my Snapchat story because I used to use Snapchat back then. Like, I can't believe this guy actually paid me even though I wanted him to say no. I'm sure I joked about it, but what I didn't realize at the time was this had just broken a core belief inside of me. I used to believe that there were no high-paying clients, but they were out there. And I didn't know at the time, but $200 was the start of it. Then I had that same moment when I'm charging like $500. I just gave the shot and I was like, they said yes. Then $700, then $800, then $900, then $1,000, then $1,500, then $2,000. It's like, you won't know that they're out there until you've actually done it. And take it from someone that's been there already. These clients are out there. You're going to have people like in like these shitty communities and stuff that say, oh, you can't get high paying clients. I promise you, this is going to happen to you. I'm putting the belief into you now that high paying clients are out there. You're going to have other broke editors that tell you that they aren't there. Oh, but you should just maximize your hourly rate. But people, no, there's no way that someone with shorts will pay more than $100. People even in shorts will pay you over $100. I promise you, they're out there. I have clients that I've worked in shorts that pay me like $200, bro. They're out there. I have people that, let's say in long form, in fact, my clients now, I charge more for a minute of video than most people make in a month. I charge over $1,000 per minute of my VFX right now. Most editors don't make that in a month. I make that in a minute. These high-paying clients are out there, and if you want to listen to me, someone who's done it before, this isn't even ego. I'm telling you that you can do it. If you're going against me and saying like, no, I don't think he's right, it's like, bro, I'm trying to say like, you can do it. Why are you going against me? Why are you listening to the people that are telling you that you can't do it? Just because this other broke editor hasn't been able to do it himself. He feels like a failure, so now he's trying to put that onto you just so he feels better. It's like, you know, when you go to a family function and you have like big dreams. You're watching me, you're quite ambitious and you're thinking, okay, I want to make like this much money. I want to make 100K per year within like my first few years of business. I want to get to 10K a month, like whatever you want to say. If you were to say that to your family, like not even immediate, but like let's say some uncle or auntie, if you were to say that you want to pursue entrepreneurship and you don't want to go to university and get a normal job, they would basically like kind of like tell you not to. They'd say, oh no, go uni. Like everyone goes uni. You have to go university. And sure, they might say it out of love. Like they truly believe that they are doing it out of like trying to help you. But I promise you, there's a small part of them where the reason they're doing it is because they fell for the same trap. And if you objectively, this isn't even emotions involved. If you objectively looked at the person who is giving you advice and you saw their life situation and you can say that I would like to be more like them, you should take their advice. But more likely than not, if they aren't working the job they like, if they aren't making the money they like, and they're not in the life situation that they like, how are you going to take their advice and assume that you're going to get something different? If you listen to broke editors and their beliefs and how they don't get paid enough and they're not going to try in a video to maximize their hourly rate, and you're like, oh yeah, same, and even if you're not agreeing, it's like, it's going into your brain. When you surround yourself around those people and you're installing their beliefs, how can you expect anything but to be like them? One of the best things I ever did was surround myself around other guys who, they had beliefs around money which actually served them. Like, when I talk about charging a couple thousand per video, and when I say like I make like $10,000 per month, whatever, like all this internet shit, like whatever, honestly, 10,000 isn't that much. And there's going to be some guys that hear that and they're pissed at me. But I promise there's a small selection of people who, they heard that and they're like, yeah, like, of course it's not that much. Like, it's possible. Yeah, like, if you're charging 2,000 per video, or like 1 to 2K per video, that's like 5 to 10 videos a month. I could do that anyways. Like, yeah, that's possible. There's guys that believe that. I mean, there's guys that believe it's not possible. Who do you think is going to make it further? And if you were to surround yourself around one type of person, the type of person who doesn't make the money and like they're saying it's not possible and oh but I bet he's like, if you surround yourself around them, you're going to take their beliefs as well. If you surround yourself with these guys, you're going to take their beliefs. And in a weird way, you can surround yourself around people who have the belief but they're not even making the money. Like, there's guys, and this might be you, where you heard me talking about like this type of money, and honestly even this type of money isn't like huge, but you heard me talking about like, oh, 2,000 per video, 1,000 per video, 500, whatever, and you're like, okay, I might not be there, but like that's completely possible. You have the internal belief that it is possible, and I promise you, you're gonna go so much further than the guy that thinks it's not possible. And when you hear people say it's not possible, I beg you, and I say this from the bottom of my heart, please don't listen to them. One of the best things I ever did was learn about this whole idea of belief systems, and that whatever people say around you, you will install those beliefs for yourself. People say that you become like, you are the 5 people that you spend the most time with. It's because when you have 5 people around you that all have a certain belief pattern, you will be the 6th person with that belief pattern. That is why it happens. You have certain scarcity beliefs around money, and maybe you were raised and like now you're starting to learn that like, yo, money is actually out there. But as a kid, you used to always think like, oh, money was so hard to come by. And it's like, because you saw your parents literally struggling with money for like the last 10 years of your life. Of course you had a scarcity mindset. And that's not a bad thing. But it's like, does that belief serve you? Probably not. So, I mean, yeah, this whole rant was just to say like, be okay with getting rejected. And giving the offer a lot of the time will actually just, you'll have a magical moment where someone says yes. And as long as you go through the 3 steps that we've talked about, you will be on your way to charging more as an editor. So hope you found this useful, bro. And just realize, like, higher paying clients are out there, and it's just about becoming good enough so that they choose you.